So with that, let's just jump right in. Um, Last week, if you heard or were on, Dr. Crawford told us that the prostate cancer incidence rate is 3 times as high for Black men between the ages of 40 to 44, and the death rate is 5 times as high within those age groups. So men are getting prostate cancer at an earlier age, and they're getting it more aggressively. And yet, prostate cancer is often characterized as an old man's disease. So today I thought what I would do is begin our discussion with a video of a younger man who has been pivotal to PHEN and our work. He is a Survivor Network member in Boston, and he has a story to tell about being diagnosed as a young survivor. And then I'll bring our panel on after that. So let's go ahead and hear Rausan's story.
5. The unfortunate part of that is I was symptomatic probably for 4 years prior to diagnosis. Um, and so I guess I want to start my message by saying, go to the doctor. Um, when you feel something abnormal or question everything, and you must be your own advocate. And so um, the symptoms came when I was getting like stomach pain, hip pain. It wasn't so bad, but it was present.
Mhm.
Um, it developed over time, and I thought it was a digestive issue.
Okay.
So I went to my primary care right around 38, 39 years old. I started telling them what I was feeling and that things were a little off and that I wanted to get some testing done, possibly a colonoscopy. Um, he told me I was too young. They didn't start doing any colonoscopies until after 40, usually 45. Um, and so as time went on, these symptoms developed. It developed into like lower back pain, a lot of hip pain, and I was active in the gym. And I guess the first thing I really noticed was my recovery time was getting longer and longer. I had difficulty recovering from regular exercises. Um, and so by the time I was about 44, 45 years old, I was at work one day. I was not feeling well. I had gone to the gym that morning and I just I wasn't recovering well. My legs didn't feel like they were under me. And that led to weakness and me almost passing out on the elevator. A friend of mine, as the doors open, a friend of mine, a coworker, very good friend, Ted, he actually saved my life. He saw that I was not feeling well and that I had lost color in my face. He immediately made me sit down and get some water. And then he stood there while I called my doctor and he escorted me to my car and he said, "Can you make it home?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I drove home. Next day, I went to my primary care doctor and I told him the pain I was having in my abdomen. He did like a cursory check and he told me I had appendicitis and
Mhm.
that I needed to go to the ER to get that looked at and surgery possibly. The ER was less than probably 2 miles away. I drove to the ER. I got testing MRI, CT, and when the results came back, I remember looking at the doctor's face and their face kind of told everything. They didn't tell me the results, but they told me that the test was inconclusive and they had to run another one. And so they ran another one, and then pretty much I ended up in the seventh floor cancer ward with stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer.
Wow. 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 First, I want to thank you for sharing that story. That's not easy to tell. And we're so grateful that you've chosen to speak to other men and our groups about this. Um, I want to back up even. You started feeling symptoms in your 30s, you said?
I think I was probably closer to 37 or 38 when I first started feeling different. I don't,
Right.
it was hard to explain, but I've worked out 6 days a week.
Mhm.
I was a martial artist, so I was extremely active. I was in a men's basketball league.
Okay.
And so you kind of pay attention to like injuries and how your body responds to different stimuli.
Mhm.
And I just noticed my body was not responding like it used to. My
Mhm.
energy level was extremely low, and
So,
I just couldn't recover from like walking up the stairs. It would take 10 to 15 minutes to recover from walking up 3 flights of stairs.
and so you were in pretty tip-top shape. You were active, you played basketball, you did martial arts, and you couldn't even walk up a flight.
I was a personal trainer as well. At the
Wow.
time I got diagnosed, I had I had launched my own training company, and I was doing coaching. I was concentrating on youth athletics, and I was coaching basketball and training a lot of young athletes. And so,
And
yeah,
okay. And so the doctor, when you asked for the colonoscopy and you knew something was wrong, and he said, no, you need to be 45 or we won't do it. I mean, did you continue to go to that same doctor?
I I did for about another year, and I asked him again, and his response was, "Oh, you're in great shape. Like for your age, you look great. There's no way anything's wrong with you." And then he asked about my diet. I've been a pescatarian for over 27 years, I believe.
Mhm.
And so he said, it's not your diet, it's not your digestive system. You're fine. Maybe you pulled a muscle,
If he didn't run one test on you?
not one.
Wow. Okay, so I want to ask you now, just starting from there, what advice do you have for men like you who go to the doctor, you know your body, you know something's wrong,
Listen to your body. Definitely. Like I know sometimes men are not the best advocates for their self.
right?
As far as getting regular routine checkups, being forthcoming with information, sometimes some things are tough to talk about. And I don't think a lot of men have found a comfort zone with their doctor to ask questions, and to demand answers.
Mhm.
They may not have the answers on the spot, but be persistent and, demand testing, demand attention.
So that was Rasan's story. It never gets easier hearing his story. He is so articulate and so smart and did all the right things and went to the doctor. It obviously just wasn't enough. And I wanted to have him, he wanted to be here so much that he said, I'll record a video because anytime he gets an opportunity to tell this story, he wants to teach that we should demand doctors listen to our body and to begin PSA screen testing and just make sure that the message gets out there. So he couldn't join us today because he had a medical appointment, but he's doing well. He's a 7-year survivor, and we continue to pray for him. And with that, I want to introduce my esteemed panel today. I am so grateful to these gentlemen for making the time to be here. I would like to bring on Mr. Llew Fambles, a PHEN ambassador from the state of Texas. Also, Mr. Tony Knox, prostate cancer survivor, former 40th Grand Basileus Omega Psi Phi Fraternity from Charlotte, North Carolina, and our newest PHEN ambassador. We're so excited to have him aboard, as well as Mr. Johnnie Richardson. Mr. Richardson is also a prostate cancer survivor and PHEN network member, also resides in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And lastly, Mr. Michael Muffy, we call him Muffy Collins, president run from prostate cancer, who is empowering young men in the city of Chicago to take charge of their prostate health. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here. You can come off mute.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump right in. Llew, let's start with you.
Thank you.
Tell us at what age you were diagnosed and just give us some background into your personal story and your family history.
I was diagnosed with prostate cancer at 61 years old in February of 2019. My brother had prostate cancer. He retired as a pilot with Alaska Airlines. 3 of my mother's brothers had prostate cancer, and my father's only living brother had prostate cancer. 4 of my first cousins have had prostate cancer. 1 died from prostate cancer. So it runs in the family. So when I got it, and it wasn't a question of if I would get it, it was when I got it, I had people I could talk to and turn to ask questions. My brother and my oldest uncle had radiation only. They didn't have the surgery. One of my uncles and his son had the radioactive pellets or seeds placed inside the prostate. And then my youngest uncle had the traditional surgery where they made the cut. And then later he had radiation treatment. So I had I had a robotic surgery for mine, immediately started hormone therapy. And then a year later, I did the radiation treatment. So I can say, as of 2 weeks ago, I've completed all of my therapies and I am cancer free. So I am thankful for that. But I had an enlarged prostate since I was about 35 years old. So when they removed my prostate, it should have weighed about 33 grams, and it actually weighed 168 gram. Yeah, I guess I'm saying it right, grams. But it was 5 times the size it should have been. And they also removed some lymph nodes from that area, 8 lymph nodes from that area, and the seminal vessels. And 3 of those 8 lymph nodes that they removed had prostate cancer in them. So that's why I had to do the radiation. Unfortunately, I didn't know anything about the prostate until mine was enlarged. I just wish there were a way that we could learn about the prostate and its importance in our body a lot earlier, just like we learn about diabetes and obesity and heart disease and lung disease and all of those things from the media blitzes that the American Cancer Society and others put on to warn us about the health issues. But we don't hear about our prostate until we have a problem with our prostate. So I try my best to talk to men everywhere about early detection, but I wish we could start earlier, 5th or 6th grade with our young men to teach them about the prostate and prostate health so that they know something about it before they have a problem with it.
Right, right. Thank you for your story. It's an incredible story, and congratulations on being cancer free. We're so blessed to have you as an ambassador and as part of our organization.
Thank you.
Next, I'm going to move to Mr. Tony Knox. Tony, tell us a little bit about your journey with prostate cancer and what age were you diagnosed and what's been going on with you since you've been diagnosed. I know you've been very active teaching about this.
Well, thank you, Tamika. And I was fortunate enough to have someone share some information with me when I was Grand Ambassador of the Fraternity. I had a young man by the name of Michael Jackson who had prostate cancer as well as colon cancer, and he wanted to share. And so I actually listened to him, and after hearing him speak, I appointed him to chair a committee on prostate cancer. And after hearing him, I was 59 years old at the time. I went to the doctor and took the test, PSA test, and the doctor encouraged me then to go and see a urologist. I went and, of course, had tests, and after biopsy, he sat me down and he told me that I was positive. I did have prostate cancer. Well, he started out, he was telling me it was a slow growing cancer. We wouldn't have to take or do anything for 4 or 5 years. And I sort of smiled. And he said, "Do I really have to tell you how serious this is?" And I said, "No, but you told me to relieve myself of stress. And I'm the grand boss of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity." And he stopped and he says, "We're going to start treatment right now." And so at that point, we put together a plan and we started talking about the different options. And at that point, we decided that we would go with the 24 hits of radiation And then I have the seeds implanted in me. And I was fortunate enough to have Michael and the other brothers that I could share with. And my wife was most important. She went with me back and forth to the doctors, and she has no problem in asking questions. And there were questions maybe that she felt I should have answered. If I didn't ask those questions, she was going to answer them. And so she would ask questions, we get the information, and we work through the plan. And with that, I felt like I was really fortunate to have those surrounding me that supported me, my family and my friends. And I wanted to get the word out to the rest of the fraternity that this was important, that this was not just an old man's disease, and that this could come as early as 40, or maybe as we heard today, even earlier. So every opportunity I've had to share on it, I've shared. And Johnnie Richardson, who is another panelist, actually shared with me about PHEN. And of course I've sat in and now, whatever information I can get, I try and pass on, because a lot of us, our dads hadn't gone to the doctors. So we really had no idea who had it in the family, or even that it could pass through the bloodline. But now when those opportunities come, I'm happy to present, and hopefully someone will be saved by what we're sharing.
Thank you, Tony. And we appreciate your story. And that just brings us so nicely into Mr. Johnnie Richardson. Mr. Richardson, it's great to have you here. And I wanted you here because we were in person, and I said, you told me at what age you were diagnosed. And I heard a little bit about your story at the Charlotte rally, but I really wanted you to tell your story here today, and the importance of early detection screening. Mr. Richardson, are you there, or did you freeze? Okay. Well, we'll go back to him. I'm going to have Mr. Collins come on. Now, Muffy, you're not a prostate cancer survivor, but you have a personal story, and you have an organization that you've started called Run from Prostate Cancer. And I just want you to tell the story of why you chose to found your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks to PHEN for having me here. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone's stories. This is very helpful, so I can give information out, to my peers as well. But my story was a bit different. I started the foundation. I was about 28 years old, and this was based on how many men in my immediate family, best friends, uncles, childhood friends, their fathers, grandfathers, with prostate cancer, prostate health issues. I got a bit nervous about that. I wanted to figure out ways to maybe get information out, get some education, because it was a fear. First thing was like, I'm getting older. Will I be exposed to this? Will me and my peers will we be affected by this? Like, what can I do to spread the message? Because you always hear about breast cancer, lung cancer, heart disease, diabetes, like you said before, but nothing pertaining to prostate cancer at all. And we got the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA,
Yeah.
and it's talking about these sports are predominantly Black, but the information is not there. You see breast cancer, NFL, every October. So I said, I got to do something about this. I don't know. I played college basketball in Austin, Texas at Houston Tillotson. So I was able to contact my coach. And he said, hey, I got, two peers that have been affected by prostate cancer. We got your back, whatever you need from our generation. So I just started doing some research with University of Chicago, Northwestern University. I created a men's tournament to get men screened. So you gotta meet the guys, halfway.
Where they are, right?
I gotta find ways. We started a walk. I got the medal right here. This is our 9th annual walk this year. And we do activations throughout the year. It's like panel discussions, seminars, screenings. We try to do at least 3 screenings a quarter just to get men active. We've incorporated youth arts so parents can't have an excuse on why they can't be there to be screened for that. Take 10 minutes. You signing up, you getting your blood drawn, but just the active. And this year, at our event, that we had over 100 men were able to get screened. Um, Sadly to say, over 85% of the men have never been screened before. And it was a nice percentage that didn't even know what prostate was. We're talking about men that are in their 30s and young 40s. I'm 42 years old, so me having to acknowledge and I have to, spread the word and awareness around to my brothers. So that's my mission. I stand behind it. I have two sons. They know everything about it, and I drill it to them so they can, tell their peers as well.
Thank you, Muffy. I was so impressed when I met you at what you were doing at a very young age. So we appreciate you. I'm going to come back to you. Mr. Richardson, it looks like you're back. Can you tell
Yes,
us your story and at what age you were diagnosed?
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My story is a little unique. I was at the age of 46 when I was diagnosed, and during that time period, I did hear about prostate cancer. I had an uncle who had it, and two uncles. My dad did not have it, but I had two uncles. Two of his brothers had prostate cancer, and both of them died of prostate cancer. Um, the year was 2008 when it happened. And basically, I had no symptoms at all. None. I was very physical, active. I was in Marine Corps for 6 years. I wrestled in high school and in college. I was very physically fit, but I usually take my yearly PSA examination. And this year it came back 4.7. And I had it retested 4.7 again. So I went to the VA, they retested it 4.7 again. So they scheduled to go to the urologist, and I had a biopsy scheduled. And out of 12 of my specimens, 8 of them came back cancerous as prostate cancer. And when you hear that word cancer, um, you take a swallow, you sit back, and what just happened at the age of 46 to me? I have cancer. So I'm a God gifted individual. I took it to the Lord. And I said, I don't have anything that's going to take me out until he says so. So therefore, at that time in my life, the doctor told me I had 5 different options. You could keep it in since you had no options, and you can wait on it, or, and maybe it might, because they had seen nothing except my PSA, and or the 21-day treatment, radiation, or even chemo, or remove it. I said, remove it, so I will not have to deal with it at the age when I get older. So I had the Da Vinci, the robotic surgery. Took a little bit longer than it usually take doing my surgery. When I went through the robotic technology surgery, it was very small incisions and stuff like that. I bounced back. You have to deal with the bladder, the leakage, and you have to deal with your intimacy sexual life. Those are 2 things that I was very concerned about. And the bladder went away no more than 2 to 4 months. And completely I have no bladder leakage as of right now. And my sex life has changed, but it's bounced back tremendously. 95% I'm strictly right back. But my blessing is I've been cancer free for 17 years. My PSA score has not changed since 2008, right after my surgery. I get checked twice a year, and it has not changed. Like I said earlier, when I got diagnosed and they said I have cancer, I took it to the Lord. And I said, the Lord will take me out if it needs to be. As of 17 years, I've been cancer free. I'm a big advocate of telling people, go get checked. I have 2 boys, 2 sons, 2 adult sons. As soon as they found out about it, they was young. They was in middle school and high school at that time. And now they're grown adults. They get checked once a year, ever since the age of 30. I make sure they go. And the key is behind it. If you don't ask when you go to your doctors to get checked and tell them to have your lab work check you for PSA, they will not do it if you are younger than 45. They just do a normal blood test. They will not do it. You must ask for it.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest thing. Oh, well, I got checked, I'm good. Did you ask for it? They say, oh, I didn't know I had to ask for it. You must ask for that when you go to and get your lab work done. You must ask them, especially if you're under the age of 45. You must ask for that. And other than that, I mentioned earlier, I'm 65 years old. I've been diagnosed. I'm still physically fit as of right now. I do have other injuries based on my military career, but other than that, I have a spiritual song that I say to everybody. I'm a living testimony of prostate cancer. So therefore, live your life the best way that you can. Live your deal with your family. My wife was my biggest supporter for me. She was there all the time with me throughout all of it. And I must say, we just celebrated our 40th anniversary, and I had to say that. And God bless
Congratulations.
you, and God bless everyone. And thank you for being on this panel.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say to you, Mr. Richardson, that is actually a song that we have a Deacon Fuller, Ray Fuller, and he sings that song at some of our events, and he's closed our summit with it. And he sings, I am a living testimony. So, everything happens the way that it's supposed to be according to God's will. So I'm so happy to hear you say that. And I want to go back to I'm hearing so many themes, and I'm taking notes as you gentlemen are talking, but I'm hearing these themes of you were not educated, but you all had some sort of family history. And I'm also hearing this theme of doctors telling you, like, oh, it's up to you, or you have 5 options. That must be so overwhelming. And just kind of putting it back in your hands. But you were strong enough and willing enough to say, no, let me go a step further and see what I need to do as far as treatments. And then I'm hearing a theme also of women, supporters, caregivers. So my next question for you all is, and I'll go back to you, Mr. Fambles, how have you gotten support? Who's been in your corner for you? Who helped you through your journey while you were going through this? And I know you have a son who's 28,
Yes.
and you're teaching him everything he needs to know. But who's been there with you the most? Your champion.
I've had family and friends. For years, I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. So when I had my surgery, 2 of my friends from Raleigh came down and stayed a week with me in Dallas uh, during that surgery. When I was going through my radiation, which I had in Boston, 2 other friends came up to Boston and stayed a week with me. What I do want to say, Tamika, and we kind of all tapped around it just a little bit, but in a lot of families, our family secrets are killing us.
Yeah.
Some people don't even know that there's prostate cancer in their families because there was this secrecy about medical issues and they never told anybody. So when we went in, there was really no reason to think that there could be prostate cancer in our families. And I'm going to say, just listen to the young men on the call today, the young man who went to Houston Tillotson University now. Um, I went to University of Texas at Austin. But nobody, when we were playing basketball, talked about prostate cancer. There's a young man on here, Brother Knox, who's an Omega. I'm an Alpha. Nobody until, we have to take responsibility as Black fraternities, as Masons, as church leaders. We have to take responsibility to encourage all of our men to get early testing because our family secrets are killing us.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncles and my brother and my cousins, they talked to me about it. These are your options. When I was diagnosed, they said it was slow moving, slow growing. So we're going to do this active surveillance. Well, I've never talked to anybody who said they were under active surveillance where they improved during active surveillance. So when Johnnie said he told him just take it out, that was the right thing to do because later on it can come back. When I was in my radiation therapy, there were several men who had radiation at other places, and they ended up at Dana-Farber to get more radiation. So yeah, we don't need to take a chance on it. We need to get it out, and we know it crosses every border. Martin Luther King's youngest son, Dexter, died of
Mm-hmm.
prostate cancer. O.J. Simpson died of prostate cancer. So we don't want to take a chance with this. But my relatives, my friends were all just right there to help me and support me all the way through this.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. Tony, you mentioned your wife and she's your biggest advocate and she went with you to your appointments. And so tell us a little bit about your experience as having your wife as caregiver and playing that role.
Well, yes, my wife has been my biggest supporter, and she has no problem with asking questions. She's always been one that she goes to every doctor's appointment with me. She'll ask the questions. I even one time to tell you, she told me once that she had to use the restroom. The doctor was supposed to be finished. I had gone out, and I got out, got to the car, and they hit me. No, she was asking questions. So I went back in there, and sure enough, she was taking them through it. But it was that kind of support, that kind of advocate that really helped me along. And my daughter's the same way. She'll ask questions. They're like, well, Dad, you're a tough guy. You're not going to ask questions. You're not going to tell us. But they will make sure that I let them know what's going on and that they're willing to ask the questions. And if I haven't, they'll encourage me. My son is more or less, he pays attention. He knows. He doesn't push me the way that they do. But if he thinks something's wrong, then he also will say, Dad, have you done this or have you done that? But I've been fortunate. My family and my friends, I've never had a problem sharing that I had it and encouraging others. So at every opportunity at fraternity meetings, I'll share. So brothers will come up and ask me, how am I doing? They know I got the seeds. They know that, they'll ask, the seed's still working. I said, well, every time I go through the airport, they're lighting up and my PSA is staying down. So we think they're still working. But having that family support and the friends means a lot. And I feel like we're obligated to encourage the younger people to get checked because in my family, I only knew of my great grandfather having it. Now, my dad never mentioned it, never said anything about it. My grandfather, who actually raised me, he didn't care much for going to the doctor. And if he went to the doctor, he wasn't going to share with us what the doctor said. So I didn't know of anyone except my great grandfather. And then to learn that it does, it is in the bloodline, it's even more important that I have to share with my son and those younger to get that message out.
Thank you for sharing that because that brings me to my next question, which was going to be, it sounds like you hit upon, and I want to start back with Muffy because Tony, you just told me what you're telling your son. Llew, you talked about what you're telling your sons. Johnnie, you talked about it as well. And the support of your wife. But we have just a couple minutes. I want to go back to Muffy for 1 second. Muffy, I want to ask you, you have spoken about ways that you're bringing people into the community together to talk about this and meeting men where they are. So what are you doing to get younger men, say in their 30s and 40s, to know more about this disease? Like what kinds of activities are you doing so that they know more and are more educated earlier than some of the stories that we're hearing?
Yeah, so every Wednesday, so we're based in the Woodlawn community on the south side. So we're near University of Chicago, walking distance. But it's so close, but it's like so far away, if that makes sense. So you can walk 3 miles or you can run 5 miles. Pick your poison. But we're gonna get you there if you want to run. And we noticed that more and more men have been getting more active that way. It starts the conversation. Of course, there's a lot of ladies that walk as well, and it's a draw. You just these walk clubs and running clubs are now becoming like this new dating thing across the country. There's no knock to it. People are talking again, so I appreciate it. It keeps our community safe too. But I think most important, like that was a way for us to gear towards what can we do to start that conversation and then just deliver our mission in that way. And we even had so many emails of guys that want to talk privately and say, hey, can we talk to a Dr. Murphy, who is our urologist? It's a black guy who can convey that message directly to them in their face, opposed to some of our white doctors that may beat around the bush and no, you're okay, you don't need to get screened. We hear that a lot. So this has been coming back to us. So our message is, okay, if we're seeing the age getting younger and younger and younger, how do we deliver to basketball? How do we deliver to track and field, all the sports? We dominate in those factors. My son is in college now. He plays basketball at University of Louisiana Lafayette. And his coach called me about, hey, Michael talks to us about prostate cancer. Is it that serious? So now there's a conversation starting, with one coach, and it can be over to the next. So I think it's finding the ways, meeting our guys halfway, but most importantly, having a conversation, talking to them about that. I applaud each one of you on this panel for speaking about this, because there are some guys that choose not to speak about it. And it's not fair to us if we're trying to evolve and elevate as black men in this country, as it's attacking us at an alarming rate. We have to find every way. We have a marathon cheer station for the Chicago Marathon coming up in a few weeks. And so men will see that. They'll be able to talk to our support group. Just little things that can just lead to big screening outcomes.
Okay. Those are all amazing things that you're doing. And what caught my attention was you said we are even teaching young kids how to color different color ribbons so that they know what they symbolize, and they can go home and they can bring these home and tell their parents about them. I mean, and it's all part of education, which I love. Um, I also want to go back to you, Mr. Richardson. You are part of Omega Sci-Fi as well, and you're a network member, and you've brought others in. What advice do you have for younger men and those who may not be aware of prostate cancer, may not be aware that they have a family history? I mean, what do you tell younger men, mentees, nephews, cousins?
Well, basically, you got to look for your audience. And at this time, I am pursuing doing prostate health barbershop talk. And that is something that you need to bring in. You find all different levels of men in the barbershop, and sometimes their mothers or their girlfriends or wives. But prostate, and I've been talking to a couple of owners that has barbershops in the Charlotte area. But those are one avenue. But it's always in the church that I will always go to speak to young men. But also, anytime I get a chance, I speak about it. Anytime. And I have referred people to tell people, because I have received phone calls. Someone told me to call you because I have prostate cancer. So I do know the word is getting out. I do know that what I'm saying is people are listening. And at the same time, um, we just got to be more proactive. But to get to the younger individuals that look like us, I feel we all have to choose our audience. And at this time, I'm looking more towards prostate health, barbershop talk, and podcasts, wherever the case may be. But I'll let them run it because that's what they like to do. But I will come with the conversation, and I will come with the platform. And that's what I will do as far as answering your question.
I love that. I love that. My husband goes to Shop Talk as well, and they pick a topic and they talk about something each week, which I think is a phenomenal way of meeting men where they are. So,
Right.
yeah, I love that. And Tony, I want to get back to you because you mentioned the fraternities. So, what types of things are you saying in Omega Sci-Fi? I know that when I met you, you said I'm willing to go anywhere and talk to anyone, and I took you up on that very quickly. So, tell me, what are you saying out there when you meet men? Younger men, what types of things are you telling them about this disease?
Well, actually, just yesterday, I talked to a young man who has been diagnosed, and he's trying to determine which procedure he's going to take. I shared with him my process and what I went through, and offered to, at any point, discuss it with him and tell him the reason I chose to have the seeds implanted and how it's going for me. And I've had brothers call me at different times because when at a meeting, we'll keep it above board and talk about high level, but offer to meet at any time, to offer to share offline if necessary. And we've encouraged them to have the committees where it's a regular discussion. Everyone has a health disparities committee or a health committee, but I think it should be specific on prostate cancer. And it may grow to other things, but don't do anything and leave prostate cancer out because it is serious. because of the fact it is impacting our young men. And the thing I try and encourage is don't wait. Go and get checked, because early detection gives us so much more of a chance. Those that I know of that have had early detection, been blessed, they're able to share. But every morning at 6:30 a.m., I'm on the prayer call for the Mega Sapphire Fraternity. And unfortunately, we hear of some who didn't find out soon enough. And we've lost some brothers because they weren't aware. So I feel like we need to share this, and not just within our fraternity, the entire Divine Nine, especially the male fraternities, that we share, that we work together on this, because we can make a difference. And the young men look for those who've been in particular things, who've shared the spotlight, who've been in something else. The fact that I was an athlete, a college athlete, and I've done different things, they may listen, and if they're willing to listen, then I feel like I need to be willing to share. And there are many of us who have been in that position, and for whatever reason, we kept it to ourselves. And my wife, at one point, before I really shared with the rest of the family, I kept it to myself. And she was like, well, don't be afraid to share. You especially need to let the family know. And I don't think it was until after I got the treatments that I shared with my sisters, as well as my brother. I didn't want anybody to worry, but of course now I worry him to make sure that he's getting.
I love that. I love that.
And I think that's what we are obligated to do.
I love that you said that. And there's that theme again of our wife and our champion or our spouse or a friend. We see a lot of men bringing other friends to our rallies and just getting the word out. I want to make sure, if there are any questions from the audience, please put them in the chat, or please ask them in the Q&A. I'm not sure if we have any yet, but I also just wanted to ask one more question of Llew. Llew, you and I talked a little bit about a curriculum, right? Like developing something. And I want to ask the same question for you. What type of curriculum, if we were to develop one, would you want to see out there for younger men who are going through this, or maybe don't even know about prostate cancer yet? I mean, even as young as 3rd grade.
Yeah. Well, I think, and Brother Collins here on the call, I just thought he had all the right ideas. We need to be where Black men are in order to educate them. Barbershops, basketball courts, football games, bars, churches. We need to be wherever Black men are. But by the time we learn about it, we already have a problem. So if we started with the 3rd grade or the 5th grade, to just educate them on this walnut-sized gland in their body that can literally take them out. And if they just understand that glucose that is produced in the body when we break down sweets and carbohydrates feed cancer. So if they're not active and they're eating a lot of starches that they serve in the schools, then they have a higher chance of getting this. If we can't teach them about how to reduce stress, I call it TPSA. Dr. Crawford and I talk about all the time: troubleshoot, problem solve, and adapt. If they don't understand how to do that, they're going to have a much more stressful life as they go forward. And I think stress is the difference in us and everybody else. I think everybody else has the same diet we have, probably exercise about the same that we have, but I don't think anybody else has the same level of stress that Black men have. So we need to start these young men learning about the prostate and how to maintain proper health of this prostate at a very early age, just like they learn about diabetes, just like they learn about obesity, just like they learn about liver and kidney and all of these other heart, lung health. They need to know about prostate health and then the issues that can come about with the prostate. So I'm trying to figure out a way to challenge my fraternities. Thank you for being on there, Brother Knox. Challenge the fraternities, challenge the Masonic societies, challenge the churches, there are just too many places. Challenge the barbers to have events. And I like the idea of a basketball tournament or even a bowling tournament or tennis tournament or something that we can get people together and then educate them, because education is going to be the key, but it has to start early with our young men so that when they get to be 45, they already know what's going on and they won't run from that word like Johnnie and I did when they said cancer. Oh man, I mean, it was just a flood of emotions that went through me because I figured everybody I knew who had cancer had died. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I won't live 2 years. So then I started talking to my uncles and my brother, and they said, oh, no, no, no. You can live another 30 years if you just, take care of yourself and follow the instructions. So, but we have to start early. And Brother Collins, I'm hoping to get in touch with you because you just said some great things, and I just need to figure out how to do them in Texas and in the South and in Pennsylvania and wherever else I go. I would like to know how to do it.